It's crazy to see, bro, how in your life, it's like when you started working with me, crazy stuff started happening to you.
Yeah, I know, man. It was kind of a roller coaster at a moment there, but I realized at least it was a controlled one, and it was all going in one direction that I was trying to get into instead of, that cycle effect of round and round and thinking that things ain't getting through. But in reality, with that structure from your course, I knew where I was going and why I was going up and down. So I was thankful
Bro,
for that at least.
that's so good, man. So I want to just ask you, bro, and just like for anyone that's like listening to this, what would you say was the most powerful thing that you began to implement through this process, and why?
The I would say the biggest thing, bro, is the thought process. You know what I mean? Like a lot of us men, I don't know, sometimes we can overthink things and sometimes we don't even think things through and we just go at it. But for
Yeah.
me, I'm the overthinker kind of guy. And I just, those thoughts is what brought me to my circumstances. How you feel is from how you were thinking, your thought process, and you can create your reality and the things that you want in your life simply based off of your thinking. And so for that, and then going through like the model to be able to understand why you have those thoughts,
Yeah.
but just the idea of being able to have the ability to change them and to know where they're coming from that was probably the hugest takeaway, was the ability to be able to change my thoughts so I can change how I'm feeling, man. Because I put in all that work immediately because I was in a place it was just draining. It almost put me to a place of like suicide, and I had extremely bad depression. So any little thing to help me get through it, other than substances and doing bad things and bad habits, I wanted to be involved in. And so I invested in you. And the moment that you had brought that to my attention, I was like, I had to soak it up. And immediately I put it into effect. And like I said, it was a roller coaster
Yeah.
at first because I had to get that pain out, but at least I had the ability to get it out and in a
Yes.
healthy way too. So
Yes. Bro, I'll never forget the phone call that I got as I'm walking up the stairway of my girlfriend's apartment. And you're just like, bro, this is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. It was like in the first 3 days of working with me. And it was because you were finally processing everything that was inside of you. And it was like hell, wasn't it? It felt like it, at least at first.
I started crying because I remember you was like, "Hey, man, it's gonna be a hard process. You are gonna go through some emotions, but just keep going. And then once you start crying, then just keep going even more."
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, "Damn, man!" I started writing, and I started to get a little bit of that pain out. I started crying. I was like, "Oh man, this is rough." And it did hurt. It definitely had an effect. And then I had to stop for a minute, and then I left, and then I gave you a call, and I was like, "Hey, man, this shit ain't working." And you're like, "Bro, just remember what I said before you even started it. You were gonna go through those emotions." And I'm all right, fine. I'm gonna go back home because I was at the park at the time when I was calling you. Went
Yep.
back home, and I continued to let it out, man. And then once I got to a place where I stopped crying so much, I felt so much better. It was just like a huge weight, like a knife I just pulled out of my own back. It was
Wow.
great.
Dude, that's incredible. I love that, man. And that's exactly what that was designed for, because you knew you were dealing with stuff, but you probably didn't know like that all of it was still in you in that type of way, right?
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Like thinking like, no, man, I'm good. I'm moving on. I'm handling my stuff. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I was not good. What was that experience like?
That's the thing too, man, is I never realized like when you go through situations in your life, depending on how bad that trauma or that incident, how it affected you, that event, if you don't handle it, man, that stuff actually lingers and it'll continue to proceed into the next situation. And before you know it, you have like this snowball effect of just all this different stuff. And then it's kind of hard to like navigate. You don't know what this thought's coming from. Is it coming from this event, or is it coming from the last two that you didn't take care of? So you
Yeah.
know, you got to process them as they come. That, you know, that gives you the most power, because you do have that ability at all times.
Mhm.
And for me, man, I was going through so much stuff, as you know, like it was just one thing after the other, trying to work on this thing, and then I have another thing happen to me. And I just, after a while, I didn't, you know, work on it. And I didn't know where to go. I was like, dang, man, I got all this pain. I didn't know how to control it. But then after, I was like, all right, let me start here. We'll work on this, work on that. And then before you know it, I had control over this situation, that one, and then the ones to come. I already knew, like, if I don't handle this now, it'll be a problem, an even bigger problem later on.
Yeah.
You know, that it can even go as far back as to your childhood trauma too.
Mhm.
A lot of our situations are, you know, something that we had developed even as children. You know, we go through that trauma, and it's so, you know, it could be so detrimental to your life.
Mhm.
It's involved into your relationships, and we don't even know it, but it's on a subconscious level. So,
Yeah.
your problems as they come.
Yeah. Have you noticed, brother, now that some of the work that you were doing on paper, you've actually now been able to do on the go? Have you noticed that yet?
Yeah, I've definitely came to a place now, like I'm way more like aware of like my emotions and stuff. Especially when I'm writing, I'm like always trying to write down things that I want to achieve, or things that I'm going through, and try to like understand where it's coming from. And then in my mind now, I'm able to do that. Like, all right, man, I'm having a bad day. All right, well, I'm not just having a bad day. I'm having a bad day because of this.
Mhm.
And because of this is how it's making me feel. And then now, in my ability, instead of writing it down, I just think about it. All right, well, this is what I want to think. And this is the new alternative. I have control. I'm going to turn this to work for me. I'm not going to let it take control of me in my life. So I want to think happy. Instead of putting myself down, I'll give myself an affirmation. Like, I'm the man. I'm going through this pain. Why? Because I'm trying. And
Mhm.
this is where I'm trying to go. And
Yeah.
this is process. You gotta change that thinking, man.
Yeah. It changed, man. It literally changes everything, brother. Everything. I remember there was one moment where you reached out to me through Slack, and I was busy that night. I forgot what I was doing, but I wasn't able to get back to you till the next morning. And I shot you a message, and you were like, "Actually, man, I'm all good." It's like I was actually able to deal with it on my own, and that was the moment where I was like, "Oh, this dude got it." Like that's it. He's got it, because the idea obviously is to, like, things are going to come up, and we always need a coach. That's why I have my own coaches, right? So
Yeah.
that, but the idea is that hopefully you don't have to be going to your coach every single week, because you've developed enough skills through the practices, right, to be able to become self-sufficient, right?
Mhm.
And be able to kind of walk yourself through these things, learn how to cope by yourself with yourself, give that to you. And the more you give that to yourself, the more you can then give that to others. And I remember that moment was like, whenever you said that, I was like, man, Angelo, he's got it. He's got it. What'd that feel like for you in that moment where you were like, dang, bro, I need help? And then all of a sudden you were like, the help is in me. Walk me through that.
I remember that day. I remember that day like it was yesterday, man. That was definitely a day of growing pains. You know, as we call it, like we go through the process, and sometimes it hurts, man. But you're growing in that process. But that night, man, I had so many different thoughts going on, and I was still having issues with baby mama. And in that time, I was actually talking to her, so it was a bad situation. But yeah, I was in a lot of pain, and I was like, all right, I got to jump to what's helping me through this, and that's my coach. So I immediately ran to you, and you know, you're a busy man. You had something go on or whatever, and you weren't able to get it to me at that specific time right off the bat. And I'm like, all right, man, I just need to take a breather real quick and let's refocus. What helped me before and where do I need to go? Well, my coach. Okay, I understand that now, but what was he doing? My notes. Let's get into that. All right, journal. Oh, okay, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. All right, affirmations.
Mhm.
Let's get into those KPIs. Let's get into the model. Let's get into, changing it up. Those YouTube videos. You have a whole channel. I can access you there.
Yeah.
So when I was in that moment, I was like, all right, I have way more control now. And like I said, man, those growing pains. We need to go through them. We need to get stronger. But our notes are right there for you. Especially if you put in the work, man. That's where you go. And after that, I was like, all right, I'm much happier now. Like
Yeah.
I'm where I wanted to be if I were to speak to you, but you already gave me everything I need. I already have all my secret weapons, thanks to you.
You got your
And then that's
Batman
when I hit
belt,
you
bro.
up. That's what I'm saying, that utility belt.
Hmm.
And yeah, I hit you up right after. And I was like, hey, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I remember giving you that message of thanks, just appreciation.
Yeah, man, that was incredible, brother. It's been awesome just to see your journey of just growth, like in general. But it started off because you wanted to deal with this pain. It's really what it started off as, but it didn't
Yeah.
end there, and it hasn't ended there. It's like you are now beginning to use these tools and principles and like the work to create the life that you want, right? Like in different areas, not just to get over your ex, right?
Yeah, it's no longer I don't implement these things anymore just for specific breakup or divorce. I use it now for my dreams. Like before my dream man was after my stroke and kind of my medical issue, I wanted to be a correctional officer
Mhm.
to get back into that because I was already one before that stuff had happened to me. Um, that was my dream, bro, and I achieved my dream. And now implementing all this stuff and these new tools on my belt, I want to shoot for something even higher. So now I'm using these things to get into the sales, the business. I want to get into real estate. And I use that even for that realm, not just so much, the issues with my past relationship. I'm using them for my dreams. So
Yeah, bro, I love that because that's what's happened. That's the whole point of everything, bro. Like getting over your ex, it's key to building a life that you want, right? Because if you don't get over and deal with that pain, like you said, it lingers and it carries over from situation to situation. And now the thought that we chose to believe at one point that says, dang, I'm not good enough for that person, I'm not good enough for them to try, that thought then catapults its way into you're not good enough for that dream. You're not good enough for that career. What are you talking about getting that job? But the more that you began to challenge those limiting beliefs, is what we all call them, right?
yeah,
And created the beliefs that you wanted to believe. And you're like, this is who I am. This is true. This is who I am. This is what I bring. I can do anything. You know what I'm saying? If you
yeah,
hadn't done that then, it would be so much harder to overcome these other things now because now you've developed a pattern that when there's a criticizing thought, a negative thought that is attacking your well-being, you're like, I'm not standing for that. I know exactly how to take you out, and I'm going to take you out.
yeah. You instantly got to challenge that. You know what I mean? Because if not, then you'll believe it, and it'll be a part of you, and it's not. That is the enemy. Is those negative beliefs, those limiting beliefs. You can do so much more.
Yeah.
And a lot of these men, they don't do more because they don't believe it,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't tell themselves that because when someone tells them you're a piece of crap or you're a limiting person or you're below, they take that in like, well, maybe I am. And then that's where they go. Like your mind
Yes.
will bring you to your reality.
Yeah.
And with this, if you believe more and you bring more, then that's what you'll achieve and that's where you'll go.
Yeah.
So huge.
Bro, I love that, man. I love that. If you could say one thing, like one piece of advice to somebody who's going through something similar that you were going through, bro, what would you say to them?
Man, that's a good question. I don't, the biggest thing, man, is I don't know why we go through the things that we go through necessarily, but I feel like in a way, like you, I'm a Christian, man. I do believe that we're put through these battles and these trials, man, to grow us. And we're put in these situations, man, because they hurt. Like you can put two different guys in one situation, and that situation is going to hurt one, and the other guy's going to dust off. So all of our situations are going to be different,
Mhm.
but they're used for us for our development, for our character, and who we're going to become later in our life. If you guys are in a situation where you feel like you're not going to be able to get out of this, you can, but it starts with you, and it starts with your ability to think that you can. Because if you don't think you can go somewhere, you probably are not gonna. It's just the reality of things. Like I was telling you, bro, is we all need a coach. We all need somebody from the outside. You know, a lot of us men are self-sufficient. We're independent men, and you know, we get things done. You know, we bring home the bacon, we bring the stability. But sometimes, man, we need that extra help. You know, when we're in the storm, that's all we're focused on. You know, we got that tunnel vision. We got problems, we got challenges,
Yep.
and we're so focused on trying to take care of them that we don't even know how to navigate through it. And sometimes we take on more challenges that we don't even need to worry about. But it's good to have that outside, you know, those eyes, that mentor, that structure to guide us through that situation. And you know, it does make things easier, but it also makes things more safer because you can get hurt in that process. And you know, as we know, a lot of men out here are committing suicide. You know, they're out there drinking, smoking, doing drugs and stuff because they're trying to avoid pain, but they
Yeah.
just need that extra set of eyes to navigate. And that is huge. If you're in a bad spot, that's not where you're going to be in the end. You're meant to be somewhere else and something way better than what you were before you started the storm.
Man, that's Coach Angelo right there for you.
Yeah,
Shoot, let's
good job,
go.
man.
I love that, brother. No, man, I'm so proud of you for real, honestly. Just to see what the work that you've put in is very evident because of where you're at now. You have a
Yeah,
completely different mindset, a
yeah,
completely different mindset, right? And it's not that you had a bad mindset before. It's just now you've been able to train it to where it's going to be what I want it to be now. I'm not going to be a victim of my circumstances, right? Where, and a lot of men, we have that mentality of like, I'm not going to be a victim of my circumstances, but yet we make ourselves a victim of our circumstances.
yeah.
We
That's exactly
we
it.
manage our life more than take control of our life. And it's
Yeah,
like, that is not what we are called for. We're called for a greater life, and we can build that and we can create that. But it's like you were saying, it starts here. And it's nothing, if anyone, whoever's listening to this right now, it's nothing to be ashamed of because you
yeah.
didn't have the tools. No
That's
one
right.
taught you. So you shouldn't be ashamed of that at all.
Yeah,
But you should acknowledge this is where I'm at.
yeah,
That's it. Because now that, like, for example, now you have the tools, you have the wisdom, you have the knowledge, you have the work, and now you have a choice on, am I going to keep doing it or am I not? And that's completely up to you. But once you've
mhm,
tasted and you've seen that the works, you're like, why the heck would I not want to feel great in any circumstance? And be willing to feel what I'm feeling because I'm feeling it for a reason, right? Like, and instead of just avoiding it, why wouldn't I want that stuff out so I can just feel lighter and be myself again and have clarity again, right? Like, that mental fog comes with, like I like to say it, emotional constipation. So get
yeah.
that stuff out
That's right.
and then you get clarity again.
Mhm. It's legitimate power, especially like, you know, for your life and everything. It affects everything, your relationships, you know, your dreams. They can become even bigger now. And, you know, you could take on any challenge that you want and you won't be afraid because you know you can get through them. You'll achieve everything that you want as long as you can truly believe it. And with these tools, and and the mindset, it's legit. You really can achieve them. And I'm gonna try to be, proof. I'm really trying to live it out. Like before, I was afraid to get into